Welcome back, everybody, to another Lured In podcast. It's been a little bit since we've done one of these, but today we've got myself, Jared, and Garrett, and we're going to recap our Devil's Lake trip. We've been getting a lot of comments on our YouTube videos. We just wrapped it up with our fourth one. We also put out a Lake of the Woods video, but this week we don't have our typical fishing video. It's just been cold weather, tough fishing, not a lot of time to get out, and next week it might be more of the same, but we have a little bit something else planned for that. But yeah, back to this. Wrapped up our Devil's Lake video, and we want to recap it for you since we've been getting so many questions. So we'll go through basically what we did from day one, what we do when we go out there, what we changed, and how we ended up catching fish in the end. And then I'll go through the second half of this and answer off all the questions on YouTube. I'll actually pull it up and have it on my screen here. So, Jared, if you want to start and basically start from the beginning, what do we do when we go out to Devils?
Well, this trip was, a little bit different from the rest. That we weren't 100% sure of the ice conditions when we first got there. It was like mid 40s, I'm pretty sure, all week before we went, and then they hit one cold spell that seemed to lock everything up. So normally we go and we leave at like midnight and get there early in the dark, or we stay the night before and get up really early and go out in the dark. But with the ice conditions, we didn't know if we should have been walking or taking wheelers that we brought. So we waited until daylight this time, and yeah, that was pretty much it. We tested the ice, and where we were going out of, there was a solid 10 inches. So we felt comfortable with, obviously we still kept checking, but took wheelers out and started at a spot where we've gone and done well in the past. And unlike other years, it would just started really slow, I guess. Gary, you have anything to add to that?
That was a really weird year. No snow on the ice. So I just wind blowing everything around. And then I swear it probably was gusting 30, 40 mile an hour winds. It was crazy this year. But yeah, we set up, like Jared said, on the normal, or well, not normal, but where we've set up in the past. And Noah and I did pretty good in the morning though on walleyes. We didn't really get onto perch, but did okay on walleyes, and then kind of died off. What do you say, Noah? Probably 10 o'clock or so.
Yeah, that first day, and just to preface this too, we go out weekend before Christmas weekend this year is when we went out there. And like Jared mentioned, that ice conditions were kind of iffy beforehand, but when we got out there, we had in that ice field that Garrett's talking about, the wind was blowing it up and pushing all the ice together. That spot had up to 14 inches, Garrett and I found, but where it was just a flat sheet of ice where it reformed, we had down to, 8 inches. I think we found one in a couple spots. So we were definitely careful out there. But yeah, like Garrett said, that first morning we got on a decent walleye bite. I think we caught 2 perch or something like that. But from that 8:30 when we got out there, because we didn't get out till after sunrise to make sure ice conditions were good, and till 10:30 we caught our fair share of walleyes. It wasn't great by any means that morning. It was we had action though, but it wasn't our Devil's Lake that we have in our mind that you can get on fish and fish nonstop for 2 hours, 3 hours straight, and you can't keep a line in the water. So day one, we ended up picking up and moving. Garrett and I dealt with the wind and no snow and house blowing back and forth behind the wheeler as you're going across the lake. We worked 2.5 miles in one direction, and we caught one walleye out there, and that was after Jared and Crofty came out to try to break it down with us. And it was a spot where we fished in the summertime, figuring out we learned some of what that shoreline looks like and tried to look at it in winter time, and it was more up into timber than what we've fished in the ice in the past, and we just haven't had luck in timber in perch fishing on Devils yet. Ice fishing.
That's one thing, is a lot of people go out there and swear by fishing flooded timber and off the outskirts of it, but from what we've tried, we have not had any luck doing it. Then again, normally when we do go, all it takes is to find that school of perch one time, and they're pretty much around for a certain time of the day for the couple days or 3 or 4 days that we normally fish. So once we do find them, we don't really move very much, but initially finding them, we've never had luck in flooded timber.
No,
Yeah,
it's been
timber.
tough. I mean, we've tried flooded timber up to 8 feet. I think Garrett and I were in for a little bit there. Out to, we found some in 20 feet, and we struggle with that.
yeah. We just normally hit the flats.
Yeah, that's
Good.
where we've had our luck. Is anywhere from roughly basically 20 feet to anywhere from 20 to really 27, 28 is where at least Crofty and I fishing together have had most of our luck. I think Noah and Garrett have gone a little deeper one year.
One year we were out in 42 feet fishing out deep because we had a tough time finding perch, and we caught like 6 of them out there. And I mean, it was a place over by Woodlands that had fish and people were on it, but that whole Creel Bay area gets so loaded with houses. I mean, it's not horrible, but they had houses on it, and those fish pushed out deeper, and we caught them out there. But I don't like fishing that deep because everything you catch, you're keeping. And if you catch your 8-inch walleye out there, that I don't want to have to keep an 8-inch walleye. But overall, Devil's Lake has been good. And Garrett mentioned flats, and for us, we're targeting that. Honestly, it doesn't really matter where at on the lake. We fished Main Bay area, the bays off the north side of Main Bay. We fished the whole east side down into Black Tiger. And what we're looking for is these little flats on the main shoreline break. It'll be anywhere. We fish some, or next year we plan to fish some in shallow water, like 9 feet of water. We fished them, like Garrett and I were out in 37. We were fishing a flat and caught a couple. 42, we caught a couple. But like Jared mentioned, it's mostly that mid 20 to high teens. That area is where we're targeting our perch at. Just we figure they're feeding up there in the mornings and the evenings, and yeah, you can find them in the deep basin in the middle of the day and timber. If somebody knows how to do that, please let me know. But apparently you can find them in timber, and we've had luck on that main break flats, so to speak. And it's just a little bit flatter of an area on that main break.
And that's one thing. I'm sure when Noah reads some of the comments later, a lot of people have been asking for basically a spot. It's hard. It's honestly kind of tough to give it more or less because, I mean, how many flats are you going to have without outright just giving you the coordinate location? I mean, there's how many different flats on the lake. Like Noah said, we've fished. I think what one haven't we fished? We haven't fished.
We haven't fished Pelican or West Bay ice fishing yet, but we've fished pretty much most of Main Bay, north side of it anyways. We've gone a little bit towards the south, all of East Bay, and down pretty much all of Black Tiger we fish now. And I mean, we haven't hit every single spot on the lake, but we broke it down fairly decently.
And one thing I would say to anyone that's thinking about doing it, sometimes you got to put in the work to find some fish. I mean, well, how many perch did we catch the first year we went there? 6, 7?
No, we caught 14. We got 8 one day and 6 the next day.
That's right. So like 14 perch going from that year 1 to this was year 4. This is year 4.
No, year 2 we only caught. What did we catch? 8 perch or something like that? Yeah, we caught like 8 or 10 on year 2. We caught a ton of walleyes that year, but we caught next to nothing for perch. And the couple perch we caught were good. We caught a 13, a couple 12s, but year 3 we finally figured it. We finally started to figure it out, at least for our style of fishing.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I would say is, like, yes, don't get me wrong, I'm the same way. Like when I'm taking a long trip like that, it's hard to go all that way. I mean, that's 6 hours for us. It's hard to go all that way and maybe not be as successful as you wanted. But I mean, that made that 3rd year when we really hit them hard. I mean, that was a trip I'll never forget. That was so special. After we put in all that work, breaking down the bays, and we finally got on that one school, and we've stayed on them now. It's been it's really rewarding. And I think that's the main part of ice fishing is sometimes it's hard to take those bigger trips and be motivated to go again when you struggle. But I recommend if you're going to go out there, just go. It's so worth it.
Same thing like our Canada trip. We went up the first year we ever went up there.
39.
5 minutes. I caught a 27 incher in, I don't know, like I said, 5 minutes. We were there. We finished that trip for 3 days. We caught 39 total walleyes up in the middle of Canada, where you expect fishing to be just phenomenal. Now, the year after we went, we caught a lot more than that. But that first year we went out there, we ended on 39 fish. So it wasn't like it was anything great. But same thing with Devils is we struggled the first 2 years. We've caught a ton of walleyes out there, but perch we were specifically going to target perch. We have struggled, but like Jared said, it's super rewarding. And I mean, I could give a coordinate location exactly where we're at, but there's fish all over that lake. It doesn't have to be just here. And I guarantee next year we're going to keep this spot in our pocket. We might fish it if we have struggle, but we're going to branch out. We're going to try to find a few more areas where we know we can catch fish. I know that's my goal for next year out there.
And one more thing, just to add on to that, a lot of people, like we talk about struggling. One thing is to, I mean, use your resources. These resorts and stuff that are there, they want you to be there. They want your business. So they're going to do their best if you ask to help you put you on some sort of fish. I mean, they're not going to tell you a place that there isn't fish. I can almost promise you that, because
Yep.
you comes business, and I mean, not that money's everything to them, but like they are there because they generate a revenue. So they're going to
It's their livelihood.
Yeah, that's their livelihood. So they're going to try to help you, even if you're not per se being guided through them or buying a rental house through a resort. They're going to do their best. I mean, are they going to give you coordinate locations? Probably not.
Heck, that first year we went out there, we didn't do that good. We caught perch though, and I think everyone was slow. We went out of Woodlands Resort. We asked them, we've never been here before. We want to catch perch. That's what we came out here for. They're like, okay, go on this break line just about anywhere and fish 30 feet of water. And we're like, okay. We set up in 30 feet. We caught some perch. It wasn't great, but everyone else struggled out there too. So it wasn't just us. They'll give you an area as long as you go out there. You just got to ask them. You just got to talk to them. Use their bait shop. Go through their resort. Pay their access fee. I mean, it's a big help to use your resources out there. That's a really good point.
That's the other thing with Devil's Lake too, is the weather out there. I mean, we haven't had a perfect year yet, but I mean, we've had some good trips out there. The first year was rough. I mean, I think the highest temperature was like -20. So
I mean, that second year, I mean, in terms of weather, I don't know if you could get more perfect than that. We could have fished outside the entire time.
We pretty much did fish outside the.
It was like 35 degrees. But at the same time, I get what you're saying is,
well,
just because it's warm doesn't always equal good fishing.
Well, then that second year though, we ran into areas where there's a lot of pressure ridges, and I think there's some slushy areas, so it's not as much like you couldn't be as mobile as, say, like Red Lake when we do our trips there, you know. But I mean, it'd be nice if we could, but I mean, you just got to fish the conditions. So that's another thing about the trips too, is you gotta, you know, sometimes you're gonna, just like Jared, our last video up in the angle. I mean, we spent 4 days up there, and 3 out of the 4 days they turned out to be pretty decent, but
they were bad.
Well, we caught fish. We didn't get skunked, so
we didn't get skunked. I mean, it could always be worse, but
yeah, it wasn't great.
If you're telling me that I was going on a 40-mile snowmobile ride and that's what I was getting, let's put it this way, I wouldn't have gone. But like Garrett's referring to, all it takes is 1 day. All it takes is one bite.
Yeah,
that could
all it takes. I mean, that's how we found this spot. We set up there like, okay, and then we got on a 20-minute flurry of perch. We're like, all right, we're gonna fish this spot. So
yeah, that is the other thing with Devil's Lake too, is I don't think we've ever like consistently caught fish. It's always been in like, you know, 1 2 hour spurts, and then it's 4 hour layoff, and you're sitting there twiddling your thumbs, moving around, trying to find them, but then it's the timing. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
You get on those flurries and they can last 10 minutes or 2 hours. So I mean,
and that's what happened when we moved into day 2. So day 1, we struggled. We caught some fish. We didn't do too well. Moved into day 2. The morning, we had a phenomenal walleye bite out there. It was probably our best walleye bite we've ever had.
I will say, so Devil's Lake obviously is known for their giant jumbo perch. It is so underrated for being just an unbelievable walleye bite, especially in the mornings.
Yep.
Like if you're willing to get up and get out when the sun is rising, it is honestly incredible. That second day might have been the best day of walleye fishing I've ever had.
It was up there in my top 2 or 3, that's for sure, if not number 1. It was unbelievable. And
Yeah, it was definitely fun.
it was. So we did really well. Day 2 walleyes in the morning. Garrett and I caught a couple perch. I don't know, Jared and you and Crofty even caught a perch out there, but it was good until slowed down in the middle of the day like it usually does. We bounced around a little bit. I think Jared and Crofty went a little deeper. They caught a couple fish. I don't know if Garrett and I even moved all that day, but then the evening bite came and picked back up, and we put a hurting on some perch and walleyes too. Finished off our limit.
Yeah, I mean, that second day, it was Crofty and I. It was. I mean, we say this a lot, but as fast as you can get your hook down, or most of the time we're referring to perch, and that honestly is how it is with those flurries. But I've never really had that for walleyes. It was honestly that for walleyes in the morning, and they weren't 9-10 inch walleyes. They were 12, 13 to all the way up to a couple 18s, just as fast as you could get. I was hammering them on a rip and wrap, and Crofty is using his normal, what's that? The Acme.
I've got it right here somewhere. Let me find it.
There you go. The
This is like one of his go-tos, except in the rattle. This is just the flutter, right? But I don't know if it's this color or not, but it's basically
pink.
Yeah,
it's pink.
That's his go-to.
Speaking of pink, I guess a lot of people also.
You'll see that in the questions here when we move into that pretty shortly. But question: What were you using? Well, out there, we'll answer this one now. We used pink.
Pink
It
was.
really didn't matter what jig you were using. It was pink.
No.
The only thing I had success on that wasn't pink is I had like a little. I don't know. I couldn't tell you the size, to be honest with you, but rip and wrap, and it was like it was perch colored, not like the really fire tiger perch, but like just off perch. I couldn't tell you the exact color, but that I had some success on that, especially with a little bit of the bigger perch. The aggressive ones would target that, but other than that, I mean, I had a plain pink hook. I'm pretty sure everyone is using pink, and that was one of those things that we watch some prior YouTube videos too. That's another resource that people, if you find a YouTube video that's within recent date, I mean, why not use their tips and what they were doing? I think that's where we found it. Either that or
or an ice report. Yeah.
Ice report but we started with pink, and I mean, we didn't take them off.
No, I used an orange dead stick hook, but that's because I didn't have a pink one, so I put an orange one on. It worked well for me too. I think they were just as aggressive as you could think of. And day 2 they were real good, and then day 3 was basically a carbon copy of what day 2 was, minus the best walleye bite we've ever had in the morning. It was good, but it was a real good day basically. I mean, it was unbelievable. Good fishing.
It went back.
That was only morning fishing too. Though we only fished the morning that day, right?
Yes. Yeah, we only fished. I don't even know if we fished until 10 o'clock.
Like 9:30 we pulled off.
9:30ish.
But then the walleye bite went back to what I consider normal Devil's Lake, which is still very, very good. It's just the second day was absolutely unbelievable.
Yep. So with that basically kind of wraps up how we did it. Unless you anybody else, Gary or Jared, you guys have any other input on how our days went? Recapping it, we talked about what we used, where we fished, how the fishing was. I mean, is there anything else you guys want to cover?
I guess my only thing would be, like we kind of discussed in the beginning, is using your resources, but not only for fishing, but for ice thickness. And you never know, not all ice isn't safe until it's checked. We actually, one thing, I don't know if you can pull a picture up on these things or not. I wish we could. Maybe we'll post it in the comments or something. But Noah noticed it in the morning. There was like a little glare off the ice.
It was Garrett and I were set up. We pretty much used the exact same holes, if not a foot over from our holes from the day before. Yeah, Garrett's showing a picture of it there. I was looking out the window as the sun was coming up, and I was like, "Oh, this snow bear's windows are kind of close to the ice." Yeah, it got a little close to the ice. We watched this guy go out of the offshore in middle of the day, middle of the afternoon, fished across the lake with 3 or 4 other snow bears. And after we went off, must have come off, and he hit this pressure ridge, hit this crack just right, and folded. It was 8 to 10 inches ice on both sides, but just folded it in just perfect. And like Jared said, it can change in 20 minutes if you aren't careful. So
that's the thing. Crofty the day before drove right over that.
yeah, and no issue. And like I said,
he drove right over that ice with a wheeler. And thinking of that, I mean, yeah, a wheeler obviously weighs a lot less, but still, it's just the fact that like we went out in the dark that morning, and Noah and Garrett were thinking about heading that way. But with the limited time, I just kind of convinced them to stay put, and we got on fish the night before, so let's just stay put here. And Noah saw that in the morning. It just kind of puts everything into reality. Like, holy man! Luckily, I at least as far as I know, the guy was okay. Everything.
Yeah, nothing was in there. They got out. It wasn't even in that far. It caught on the ice. It didn't fall in. So it was.
So luckily,
they weren't that far from shore, so they got back no problem. But
yeah, it's just crazy, and always be checking, and no ice is never completely safe.
no.
So,
And maybe if he would have crossed the pressure ridge to like a T instead of falling parallel with it, might have been fine. Never would have known. So
yeah, I think that's how it happened. He just followed it right on.
Yep.
Oh, excuse me.
One of the bigger things too with early ice is, I believe that, you shouldn't go on in the dark and you shouldn't come off in the dark. And when we were pulling away out of the landing there that night, it just got dark. So, because I mean, you can go on a lake in the dark, and I mean, your headlights a lot of times only do you good about 30, 40 feet. And if you're doing 10, 15 miles an hour, you don't have much time to react. So I think.
And you're on ice.
And you're on ice.
Especially this ice where it's just glare ice. But I mean, granted, a snow bear can stop fairly quick, but I think, but I mean, just coming off in the dark is never a good idea. Early ice.
No, I 100% agree. 100% agree. So yeah, stay safe out there. That's for sure.
Fishing's not worth dumping, going through and dumping all your stuff in.
Not at all.
No fish is worth it.
No.
So, Noah, do you want to get into some of those comments?
Yep. So I got the first video pulled up. This is from our giant Devil's Lake jumbo perch, and basically I'm just going to go through and pick out. Oh, we got 20 some comments on here. I'm just gonna go through and find some of these common questions, or even answer all the questions, and that way everyone has a little bit of understanding. And some person asked a question, maybe somebody else has it and just didn't ask or didn't even look to see in the comments from my answer. So
one thing, Noah, is, well, I guess it doesn't even matter what video it is, because there's one of them that we did really well on. But just a quick shout out to everyone that's been watching. Thank you so much. Like, these recent videos, we have been just, we're doing awesome, and just like, thank you pretty much. It's been really awesome. We love doing this stuff and seeing that more people are starting to watch and like and comment. It's awesome. That's the only words I really got for it.
Yep, and it's only gonna get better. We're pretty amateur at some of this stuff, so it's only getting better and better, and editing's getting a little easier, and it's all coming together. Filming on the ice, filming in a boat. It's becoming fun. We had times where it's been tough, and it's always tough whenever you're starting new things. You don't know what you're doing. You don't know if you're gonna stick with it. We all kind of made the decision that we like doing it, whether or not it happens all the time and it's easy. We still like doing it. So thanks again, like Jared said.
And we're almost there, right?
Almost to the 1,000 mark. We got another 140 to go.
140 some to go,
That's
and we
good.
still got a lot of time yet. So send these all to your friends and have them subscribe and keep enjoying our videos, leaving comments, tell us how we can improve, what you like, stuff like that.
Yep,
We
yep.
appreciate it.
I love answering these comments. I never comment on other people's videos, and I should start doing it because I like answering these.
And another
But-
thing we like doing too is, I mean, granted, the last couple of years we've been doing a lot of the same trips, but we're starting to branch out now, which is nice. I mean, a lot of it had to do with we were all in school, so we only had winter break to do stuff. But now we can get away on the weekends a little bit and do these trips to the Angle. The border kind of sucks for us this year, with Canada being closed. We were hoping to get up there, do some winter trout fishing and maybe even some crappie fishing up there. But in the coming years, we'll definitely be expanding. But I mean, it wouldn't hurt to help give us comments on, places you've been or stuff you'd like to see us go. I think
Yep.
that'd be helpful too.
For sure. I know I've got some Wisconsin and some Michigan stuff planned maybe for next season. North Dakota, Devil's Lake will probably always be there for us. Canada. So, I mean, it's gonna expand, that's for sure. Let's move into these. Let's get into these comments now before this gets too long. First one here is from Dominic Shelley. He asks, we're going up this weekend. Any recommendations on spots to try? Well, if you made it this far, we gave you some recommendations on spots to try. So I'm going to leave it at that. The next one.
Find the flats, talk to resorts.
Yep, there you go. Next one is from Paul Motorman. He asks, is this Devil's Lake in Minnesota or Wisconsin? And I got a lot of them on, is this Devil's Lake in Michigan? I got like 3 of them on that. It's in North Dakota, if you guys didn't know. Learn about the lake. It's pretty fun. Next.
Hey, just to add on to that super quick, if there is these Devil's Lakes in Michigan, and I mean, if you're asking if that was what it was and the perch bite's that good, let us know. I mean, who knows? That might be a closer drive for us. It's something that I maybe want to go try. So just let us know.
Yep, for sure. For sure. Let's see here. What's the next one here? Oh, this one here. It's asked, were we on East Bay again? What bait shop do you stop and put in at? We put in in the East Bay area, and we did fish East Bay again. Basically, we like that area. It seems to be Main Bay can be a little tough, and that with ice conditions, we didn't want to get out there and fish that 40 plus feet in Main Basin. Didn't know how thick the ice was going to be with wheelers. So we stuck to the East Bay. It's a little bit safer for ice conditions. We could have gone up to Creel and 6 Mile too. We talked about it. We talked about going over towards Pelican too, but we fished East Bay again this time. So those are the comments for Crofty's giant Devil's Lake jumbo perch. And if anyone hasn't seen that perch, you got to go watch that video.
Huge.
Biggest one we've seen out there. That's for sure.
That's the biggest perch I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I know they get a lot bigger than that, honestly. I mean, they do, but we caught, everyone caught like a 13 year before that, and that thing just dwarfed it.
I mean, I caught a 13 and 13 and a half, roughly. I mean, it wasn't perfect measurements, but it dwarfed both of those fish, we'll put it that way. Next one here, this one should be for Crofty. This was from our Devil's Lake Perch and Walleye Nonstop Action video. And Christopher Ryan asked, did a fish under 12 inches pull that rod out of your hand? And I think the fish that pulled the rod out of Crofty's hand was like 8 inches.
Yeah, I don't know I couldn't tell you what he was doing, but he set the hook and the rod almost hit the ceiling because he almost let it go. And that's just a typical Crofty move right there. Just watch that section of that video.
Yeah, exactly. One guy Josh Shepard asked, how deep are we fishing? Basically, he says, don't ask for a specific spot, but just asking how deep. And this specific area, we're in around 20 feet, anywhere from 17 down to 22 feet. We moved up and down a little bit here and there. But that time of year, we've seemed to find the fish in that 20-ish foot range. Here's a fun one, Jared. You can answer this one. Sandy Nelmark says, I would get rid of those soft rods. Good vid, though.
So, the Temptation Power.
Temptation Power. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love that rod.
That's the best rod.
I
One of
mean,
the best.
they're all good.
They're all good. But
So the rod he's referring to is an Iron Range custom rod, Temptation Power. It can be used from, we use it for panfish all the way to, I use it as my bobber or dead stick rod. I know some of us do for walleyes. It has a really soft tip. I think it's awesome personally. Especially if you're going for a more visual bite. I mean, the thing works awesome. But I mean, I get it. All personal preference on what kind of rods you like. But if you do,
It's such a good rod that Jared and I both might run 2 of them.
yeah, I'm going to next year. I'm going to buy another one, and I mean, they're custom rods for a pretty good price, pretty affordable price, and they satisfy all our needs. So if you're in the market for a custom rod and or looking for a new rod that kind of fits that description, I mean, it's an all-around rod. I can't say that I am going to start using it for jigging wraps or ripping wraps or anything like that, but in terms of panfish up to bobbering or light jigging, check it out. Iron Range Custom Rods, Temptation Power.
Great rod. Probably my top 2 of the Iron Range custom rods, that's for sure. Nick Zupets, Nick 14 Zoop asked, was Croft under the weather or something? He seems a little off. Nick, Croft might have been, he might not have been. I'm gonna let you figure that one out. Timothy Thompson asked if we were on East Bay or West Bay. We were on East Bay. Mark, he asked what, and I think this is Mark that won our Iron Range custom rod giveaway from Red Lake. He asked for what bait and lure were we using, and each one of us used something a little different. Myself, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea what it is called, and it's some random pink lure I had in my box because I didn't have any smaller pink lures. So I can't give you any information. I just know it's pink.
I used primarily when I was out there for a jigging rod, I used a ripping wrap. And then for a dead stick, I couldn't tell you what mine was either. Crofty had, I had a plain hook and with sinkers, and these perch are so aggressive that they were wrapping it all the time. And Crofty basically just threw this jig at me that was pink and it was small, but it sank pretty fast. And I mean, it did the trick, caught a lot of fish on it.
Mm-hmm. I know Crofty used the Acme Castmaster Rattlemaster spoon and pink. That's his go-to. And I know for sure that's what he used.
Yeah. Garrett?
I think I used just pink, just a pink plain hook with a split shot, like 4 inches up or whatever, and a minnow through the tail, and then can't remember what it's called, but I think it's it's made by Clam, and I think it's like a tiger. It's like a pink tiger or something. It's small. It's I think it's like a eighth ounce or quarter ounce. Just glows. I mean, I can't remember what it is, but what's that, Jared?
Is it a spoon?
Yeah, it's a spoon. It's it's not. It's like a pink tiger something spoon or whatever. You can look it up if you want. It's an older lure that I had. So, but
yeah, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll look it up.
Next one here from Michael Wolbert. He asked, which bay would you recommend? What depth has been good? We answered those already. We fished East Bay in 20-ish feet. We've done well in Main Bay too, but he also says on here, looking for a morning walleye bite and hunting perch in the middle of the day. I just kind of want to talk on that for another 30 seconds here. We've done really, really well walleyes in the morning, and perch in the middle of the day we've struggled on, but we've got them in late afternoon. Typically, we've done it later morning too, but late afternoon is when we typically have got on our perch.
it's like
Right around that 2:30-ish, 2:33. is really the earliest, I would say, that we've really started to get into them, our perch. But talking to resorts out there, that's what they say to do. They say to fish your walleyes in the morning from whenever you get out there till about 10 o'clock, and then transition and start fishing perch. So good
Don't
game
get it-
plan.
Don't
If you're
get it wrong though. The resorts they'll tell you they're catching perch all day, and it hasn't worked for us, but I believe it. They show pictures of it, so
Mhm. You can find them all day, especially if you
you
get
can
out
find
into the
'em.
deep basins. So. Next comment here, moving on to our last Devil's Lake video from, it's called Big Devil's Lake Perch with Limits. I caught 2 giant jumbos, the bigger ones in the second half of the video, so you might have to stick around longer for that. But first one's from David Dobsey. I think I said your last name right. He asked, what rods was the guy with the Eat Walleye hat using? They load up nice, and I was using the Temptation Power rod. It's my favorite rod for perch and crappie and panfish of all sorts, and I love it even for a dead stick walleye rod, just because they don't necessarily feel you when you pick it up to see if they're there. So that's the rod I was using. Is this Devil's Lake, Michigan? No, it's in North Dakota. How thick is the ice? Anyone know? And this was from about 5 days ago, and it's currently the 26th. We were there the week before Christmas. We had anywhere from 8 to 14, depending upon the type of ice we were at, whether it was all pushed up and wind blown or whether it was flat, basically new ice. I'm guessing they're probably in the 20 to 25 inch range, depending upon where you're at. Like even maybe not that much, 20, maybe not as much as 25, but I guarantee they're in that 20-ish range.
wherever bay or wherever you're thinking about fishing, call the resort and ask them. They'll let you know. That's my opinion. That's the easiest way to find out ice conditions.
Yep.
They're not going to let people out if it's not safe. So that's my opinion. That's the easiest way to get ice conditions and ice reports.
Yep. And then last one here, it's not really a question, but it was more of a comment on there saying that it's hard to get up to Devil's Lake when you're living 5 minutes from the Mississippi and you can catch loads of perch down there. And that is definitely one we got to go get on. Thanks for commenting that. I was remembering this from North American Ice Fishing Circuit tournament. They're fishing perch down on Mississippi. And it's something that us 4 have got to get down there and give it a shot at some point.
I didn't even really would even think of that. But I've seen a couple of YouTube videos from there this year, and they're literally just pounding perch. The one thing I will say is that the 2 that I watched anyway, I think they were both in depth outdoors. They took like that hover boat out there.
Yeah.
So that's maybe
It would be a February thing, I think,
Yeah.
for us.
Comment and let us know if you don't need something like that, and there's a trip where a snowmobile is possible or walking distance. We would absolutely love to try it.
Yep.
I'd be there in a heartbeat. I can tell you that.
I'll be there tomorrow. Well, maybe not tomorrow because I got to work, but I'll be there the next available weekend I can. We'll put it that way.
All right. Is that
So
wrap
with
up?
that's pretty much everything. We mentioned the Iron Range custom rods. Go check them out. I've got 2 of them sitting here in front of me. I got the Extreme and the Lake of the Woods because video for next week was most likely on these walleye baits here. But other than that, that's about all I have.
Garrett, anything else?
No, nothing.
All right. Well, like I said before in the video, thanks again. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost there. We want to get to 1,000 as our next goal, and you guys have just been killing it. So with that, cheers and keep it tuned.
Keep it tuned.